why students forget what they learn, and how teachers can fix it. Here is something that should worry every teacher, including myself. You teach a brilliant lesson, students are nodding, they answer your questions, they pass the test on the weekend, and 3 weeks later, most of it is gone. Not some of it, most of it. Now, the instinct is to blame the students or blame ourselves. But the research on how memory works tells us something far more useful. This forgetting is completely normal. It is predictable, and here is the good part. It is fixable with a few changes to how we teach. So, in the next 10 minutes, I will show you exactly why students forget and the 4 evidence based things you can start doing on the next day to make learning actually stick. Welcome to Education AI Parixes, where we translate the science of learning into things you can actually use in your classrooms. If you are new here, this is the second video in our series on how the brain learns, and you don't need the first one to follow along, though I will link it on the way out. A quick promise before we start. Everything in this video is grounded in published cognitive science, and I will put the key studies in the description so you can read them yourself. Let us get into it. Let us start with the bad news, because it is older than you would think. Back in 1885, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus ran experiments on his own memory and discovered something now called forgetting curve. The finding was this: after we learn something, memory for it drops sharply. The steepest fall happens within the first day or two, and then it keeps declining unless something brings it back. And this is not some dusty old result. In 2015, researchers carefully replicated Ebbinghaus curve and confirmed it holds up. So here is the first reframe I want you to take away. Forgetting is not a sign of lazy student or a bad lesson. It is the default behavior of human brain, which means a single great lesson was never going to be enough. Not because you did anything wrong, but because that's just not how memory works. But there is a deeper layer here, and it changes everything. Cognitive scientists draw a line between two things that look identical in classroom but are completely different. The first is performance, how well students do during the lesson. The second is learning, what they can still do weeks later. In 2015 review, the psychologists showed these two come apart all the time. Conditions that make a lesson look successful in the moment often produce poor learning retention. Listen it again, because it is the heart of this video. The lesson that feels smoothest, where everyone follows along and gets it, can be one that forgets the fast. Why? Because something called illusion of fluency. When students reread their notes, the material feels similar and familiarity feels like knowing. But it is not that. Psychologists have found that students overwhelmingly rely on rereading and feel confident doing it, even though it produces weak retention. They called it illusion of competence. So, your students are not lying when they say they studied. They genuinely felt like they knew it. The method just fooled them. And as teachers, we get fooled too. We mistake their in-class performance for their durable learning. Now let us connect this directly to exams, because this is where it bites hardest. What do most students do before a test? They cram. They jam all their studying into one block the night before. And it works. For about 48 hours, they get just enough into memory to perform on the exam day. But here is the most striking study I will show you today. These psychologists have found that students either reread a passage or practice recalling it when they tested immediately. Reading actually won, but when they tested 2 days or a week later, the students who had practiced retrieval remembered substantially more. That gap between looking good on the day and remembering a week later is forgetting we are talking about. Cramming buys you the grade and then quietly hands back the knowledge. That is the exam cliff. So, that is why now for the part you came, what we actually do about it. The good news is that same science that explains forgetting hands us the solutions. Here are four in order of impact. यानी मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो नज़रियात, साइंसी नज़रियात भूल जाने के बारे में हमें बताते हैं और वही नई साइंस हमें उनके हल के बारे में भी बताती है। अब ज़ैल में हम उन चार अहम असूलों की तरफ, कोर प्रिंसिपल्स की तरफ इशारा करते रहेंगे। द सिंगल मोस्ट पावरफुल टूल इज़ रिट्रीवल प्रैक्टिस, मेकिंग स्टूडेंट्स रिकॉल इंफॉर्मेशन from the memory instead of just exposing them to it. So retrieval practice सबसे पावरफुल टूल है, यानी अपनी मेमोरी से खुद से चीज़ों को याद करना दरअसल लर्निंग में हेल्प करता है. Every time a student successfully pulls something out of memory, that memory gets stronger and easier to find next time. In 2008's study, psychologists have found that not extra studying is what drives lasting learning. In practice, this looks like 2-minute brain dump at the start of class, where students write everything they remember from the lesson with no notes, or low stakes quizzes that count for little or nothing towards grade, or cold calling for recall instead of asking any questions. Notice in the key detail, it has to be low stakes. The goal is practice, not judgment. In other studies, it is confirmed that spreading practice out reliably beats massing it together. The simplest classroom version is spiral review every week. A few questions on the older material work their way back in, so nothing is ever fully finished. यानी असातिज़ा जब क्लास में पढ़ाए गए सबक को कुछ अरसे बाद दोबारा उनका जिक्र करें और तलबा को उस सबक से मुतालिक कुछ सवालात कर लें, तो इसको स्पाइरल रिव्यू कहते रहते हैं. और उन सवालात के जवाब जब तलबा अपने हाफजे से देंगे तो उनकी याददाश्त और उनकी लर्निंग बहुत बेहतर हो जाती है. इस चीज़ को कहते हैं रिट्रीवल प्रैक्टिस और स्पाइरल रिव्यू. यानी एक सबक जो चंद हफ्ते पहले बच्चों ने याद कर लिया था, समझ लिया था, उसको दोबारा कुछ अरसे बाद उससे मुतालिक उसका रिव्यू कर लिया जाए, तो ये बहुत ही अच्छी चीज़ होगी. इसको रिट्रीवल प्रैक्टिस कहते हैं और इसको स्पाइरल रिव्यू कहते हैं. थर्ड थिंग इज़ इंटरलीविंग. थर्ड core principle is interleaving. Instead of doing 20 problems of the same type in a row, mix different types together. For example, interleaving means mixing different types of problems or topics with a single study or homework session, rather than grouping all the problems of one kind together. यानी फ़र्ज़ करें अगर क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन और क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन को सॉल्व करने का फार्मूला एक दिन पढ़ाया गया, तो उसी दिन उसकी प्रैक्टिस 20 सवालात से या 10 सवालात से करवा दी गई और फिर बच्चों ने वो फार्मूला और उसको हल अप्लाई करने का तरीका सीख लिया. लेकिन बाद में हम मुख्तलिफ जो मसाइल या तरीके या फार्मूले सीखेंगे उनको बाद में रिट्रीव करना और बाद में उनकी प्रैक्टिस करना, उसको मिक्स कर लेना चाहिए। और कभी कोई सवाल, कोई फार्मूला दोहराया जाए और फिर कुछ दिन बाद दूसरा पहला फार्मूला दोहराया जाए, इसको इंटरलीविंग कहते हैं। फेयर वार्निंग, दिस वन फील्स वर्स फॉर स्टूडेंट्स, इट इज़ हार्डर एंड स्लोअर and their in-class performance may dip. But that difficulty is exactly what builds the ability to tell problems apart and apply the right method. Scientists call these desirable difficulties, struggle that pays off. यही वो मुश्किल है जिस पर असातिज़ा और तलबा अगर काबू पा लें और इस मुश्किल से गुज़र जाएं तो उनकी लर्निंग ज़्यादा मजबूत हो जाएगी। यानी मुख्तलिफ मौज़ूआत को बार बार दोहराने से बग़ैर किसी तरतीब से वो मौज़ूआत ज़्यादा अच्छी तरह याद रहते हैं। द फोर्थ फिक्स कॉस्ट नथिंग बिकॉज द इल्यूजन ऑफ फ्लुएंसी इज़ सो स्ट्रॉन्ग, स्टूडेंट्स विल resist these methods. They feel harder than rereading. So tell them why. Spend 5 minutes explaining that rereading feels good but does not last, and that a little struggle now means they keep the knowledge later. When students understand why they stop fight, when students understand the why, they stop fighting the methods that actually work. So, to bring it together, students forget because forgetting is the brain's default. Because performance during the lesson isn't the same thing as lasting learning. And because cramming creates an exam cliff. And we fix it with retrieval practice, spaced practice, interleaving, and being honest with students about how learning really works. And if you only remember one thing, remember this. When Danlowski and colleagues reviewed the research in 2013, the two techniques they rated highest for almost every learner were practice testing and spacing, while highlighting and reading, the methods students love most, scored among the lowest. We have been teaching against the brain's default. These 4 fixes teach us with it. If this was useful, here is what to do next. Pick up one of these 4 fixes, just one, and try it in a single lesson this week. Then come down to the comments and tell me which one you choose and how it went. I read them all and I will feature the best classroom stories in a future video. The next videos goes deep on the fix number 1, retrieval practice, with ready to use routines for every subject. It is on the screen now, so give it a watch. And if you want the science of learning made practical every week, subscribe and I will see you in the next video.